Peace, and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of Through Knowledge Radio, the place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge Born Allah, and this is our Thinking Out Loud series broadcasting live every Thinking Out Loud Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are supremely honored and privileged to have back in our midst the divine master poetess, African mind of the warrior queen who comes to us in the exalted and righteous name of Queen Iya Afrika. And we are going to be discussing the rise of the great mother. So, an honor and salute to the divine feminine in the African construct, which is the essence and the foundation and the link between the essence and the manifestation into the physical or the material world. We honor and owe an honor to the great cosmic mother, the divine feminine principle, which is key and vital to the inception and cultivation of African people. So, in honor of those cosmic forces, and in honor and ode to the African mother, the great and one responsible for us all, we are here, gathered and assembled, and we are realigning our minds and beings with the divine great rise of the divine feminine and the grand matriarch. So we have the grand matriarch in our midst, and welcome her back to Do Knowledge Radio, Thinking Out Loud Thursday. So again, that phone number to call in 929-477-1755. Again, 929-477-1755. Press 1 with your questions or your comments. It's my honor and privilege at this time to introduce to some and present to others. Back here, one more again, our divine queen mother, Queen Iya Afrika, is in the building.
Good evening, brother.
Alafia, Queen Mother.
Lafia, Lafia. It's good to be here on this great day.
Great day.
With good brother to yourself. It's always an honor and a privilege to be on Do the Knowledge Radio.
Well, we're equally honored to have you. We know that you don't just go anywhere and speak to anyone. So whenever you are able to grace us with your presence, we are deeply in your debt. So this conversation is centered around the rise of the great mother, and we could not have a greater example of the divine great mother than yourself being here in our midst, in the midst of the trials and tribulations that confront us on a daily due to the neglect and overshadowing of that divine feminine energy. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to open up however you see fit, and I'll be along in a second with some things to clear up.
Indeed, indeed. Yes, it's an honor and a privilege to continue the work that our great mothers started so long ago. This show was inspired by a podcast that I had done. Black matriarchy and white feminism are not the same. Knowledge asked me on this show to expound on that subject. But I was inspired to do that podcast based on a Facebook post that I had one day. And I had different brothers, saying different things or whatever. And I decided to address them all with that show. Our people lack knowledge of their true history. And we even see in the conscious community, the so-called conscious community, regurgitated, flat-out false information for whatever reason and for whatever agenda. Um, so it's very important that we have these type of sessions, um, brother and sister, to be able to enlighten our people from both sides of the spectrum. As you representing the divine African masculine, and me representing the divine African feminine. Um, it was said that the pyramids were built from the top down. So, likewise, this is how we must approach this subject of unity and this subject of nation building. We have to first start with the mind. You can build a
That's right.
structure, but if the people are not trained to do the job, then that structure's foundation, is not going to be too solid, of course. So even in any job that you go to, you always have orientation. You always
That's
have, training. So likewise, we must begin first with the mind, with our training, if we're serious about nation building and if we're serious about knowledge and wisdom and overstanding. So um, I talked about in that show, Mama Zoe's book, The Sibyls, the first prophetess of Mami Wata, The Theft of African Prophecy by the Catholic Church. And she states in there that the African woman is the only woman who was not born under the yoke of patriarchy, and we have the subject of submission, going around in, the communities. It's something of old, of course, but a lot of brothers don't realize that this is something that was added to and taken away from the knowledge. So we come with correction tonight, and we come to give overstanding and understanding on the subject of what these things truly mean and what it is that we must do if we're serious about completing the mission at hand.
that is definitely 1000% correct. Correction. Oh man.
Ashe.
Um,
Ashe.
Today and tomorrow are very important days of the year for me. Um, 11 years ago today, I did a lecture in Germany, a 2 day lecture over the weekend. That was the 21st of November and the 22nd of November, 2008, in Bavaria, Germany. And my divine Queen Mother, Nathan Gilliard, uh, praise and honor and peace be upon her, and my maternal lineage and all of my ancestors. Came along with the Black Dot, A. Rashid, and True Master from the Wu Tang. And we did a lecture over there um, in the realm of Know Thyself in regards to knowing and learning your history, and in regards to preparing the imagination for initiation, and all things dealing with the proper cultivation of the mind, body, and spirit. And I asked my mother to come after she had went to China to study. So I was in Iraq at the time, and we spoke, and she went to China. And I said, "What are you going to do when you get back from China?" She said she didn't know. I said, "Well, you coming to Germany. We're going to have a lecture, and we want you to come over for the lecture." And my oldest son's birthday is the 26th, so it was kind of like putting everything together and having her come and see the family and give her an opportunity to present to a room full of people and acquaint them with her life's work. And her life's work was the study of the science of healing through the incorporation of looking for lesions, tears, marks, like key weaknesses in the systems of the body through the study of iridology. And she came on this day, you know, God sent
Mm.
my my warrior twin, my heart, and my spirit, you know, the womb from which I descended from. And as I shared on your show, uh, Queen Iya, the
Mhm.
tumultuous time of the first year or so of my life, the conditions surrounding my birth, and also the contract that was made between I and my mother and father together with this proper cultivation of life and my life's mission, what I had come here to do. So this would set the stage for a bulk of that presentation. She had an hour and a half to speak, and she taught about the key systems of the body and how these systems begin to break down. And as a result of these systems being broken down, you find that state of the key system not being optimal in its functionality, but in a state of dis-ease. So it's causing
Mm.
discomfort, and as a result of the weaknesses of these key systems breaking down in your body. So she was beginning to use the anecdotal type of approach to healing based off of her life story and the life story of our family. So, in the process of that time, she was using that divine mother goddess energy to be a conduit of healing for the thousands upon thousands who saw the after effects of this process, the science of healing. And she just told our family story. She told the story of my birth and those conditions of my birth. She talked about hospital in Latin being meaning a place to die. You understand what I'm saying? So she was talking about
Yeah.
the effects of veneration of our ancestors through the body and through the blood, through the cleansing of the body and the cleansing of the blood, and the consequences of ancestral neglect. The inverse, what happens when you don't do what you do, but just in a light kind of manner. You know, and she used terms in regards to the body and the key systems of the body and their functionality and the result and how these things occur. So my analogy to this situation in regards to correction is not something that is eased. They say the body is diseased when you're dealing with they call it disease because they like to say things fast. When you start looking at the dis-ease of the system, that means a complete inverse of where it was optimally. So now that there's a process and a journey back to homeostasis, you have the fight of your life and the fight for your life to return back to a state where you can call ease or homeostasis. So now we
Indeed.
find inside of this community that is conscious, this virtual misrepresentation of the conscious communities where we live and dwell, we find disease. We find virtual viruses masquerading as righteous beings who would see The divine feminine, the African woman, what is the greatest gift you can receive on the planet? Greater than the African woman, the African child. So
Hmm.
you would see
Come.
these fools masquerading as if they are a cure and they are a bigger part of the disease. So not only do you have to fight external, because disease is something that comes externally outside of the body. You have to check the defense mechanisms that exist within the body to ensure that they are truly here to fight out this disease or seeking to mask itself in a way to infiltrate you further, get close enough to you to destroy you. So you got to see in your immune system if these white blood cells are all truly white blood cells, or are they bacteria seeking to destroy you? You look to your left and right, you might see brothers and sisters and say, okay, I'm all right. And then you find out that your brother and your sister ain't your brother and your sister, that they have been co opted, and now they resort to the tactics of the enemy. So if you deal with autoimmune deficiency syndrome, you'll see that the body, the defense system in the body begins to attack itself from the inside out.
Yeah.
In the military, on the battlefield, we call that fratricide. Force on force internally resulting in casualties. So through the enmity and the misguidance and the influence of being in close quarter battle with our enemies, we begin to mimic the behavior of our enemies. One of them acronyms for fear, they say false expectations appearing real. So in the search or the quest for acceptance amongst our enemies in the stage of warfare, we figure that through our ways and actions and speech, that we could be more European than European, and all of our enemies, both foreign and domestic, both internal and external. And then we now find ourselves where you have supposed to be African men. I would call them Urugu eunuchs that had been castigated not by our enemies, but self inflicted voluntary eunuchs who, instead of being the warrior complement, the warrior protection, the agreement, the part of the agreement that makes everything righteous, the part of the agreement to where the African woman and the African children are all in a space where they can optimally grow and develop. They have been castrated and castigated, and therefore are not
Come.
in the state to deal with things optimally because they do not have the optimal reproductive organ that's been removed. So they are at a loss of manhood. So when you are at a loss of manhood, when you are at a loss of man parts, you are no longer a man. Mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically. So you revert to what you think is non-man behavior. So you're sitting in the virtual world, in the womb of the matrix. You're in the womb of the matrix. You're in the womb of the matrix. You come out of the womb of the matrix. You were hooked up to an umbilical cord. So you're talking about descending from a womb that gave you life, that gave you shelter, that gave you sustenance, that gave you a period of gestation for you to properly develop and come out of that womb to attempt to curse against that womb. You should not have a tongue to speak. You should not have vocal cords to vibrate. You should not have a head on top of your neck. Your man parts are missing. The vital parts of the man have been taken from you. And you're walking around as if everything is okay with your trans mentality. So now, the warriors for the African family have to get rid of you before we get rid of the enemies. Because you are in close proximity. You are in close proximity. You are in closest proximity. And by you being in such close proximity, you are of the greatest threat to our people, to our women, to our children. Because you are no longer a man. So your cowardness, so your foolishness, so your envy, your hate, your jealousy, your misguided being is something that must be destroyed by us as a distinguishing marker so there can be no confusion. Because we say peace, and peace is the absence of confusion, and we are not confused. My mother was my savior. How then can I, after being saved, then turn to my mother, to my sister, to my aunts, to my nieces, to my cousins, to any African woman that I come in contact with and be in a space of disdain or disgust? I wouldn't be here without an African woman. Or allow it
Come
to
on
take
now.
place in my presence or within the scope of my knowledge. If I hear about it, I'm coming. And you have these fools nowadays that call that ability to be a vanguard for the sanctity of the African woman and the sanctity of the African family as a sin. I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what that is. I hear these mentally disturbed mangina eunuchs talking about, yo, bro, you simping. You caping for the black woman. You caping for the African woman. I'm like, yo, how did you get here?
Come on now.
Who is your mother?
Yes.
So if the thing to advocate for African women is simping, the thing to subjugate for African women is pimping. So you okay with the pimping? You okay with the rape, the rob, the misrepresentation, the exploitation of African women? You all right with that? That's cool. So because you don't stand guard Wait, let me back up for a second. You would say that not protecting the African woman is sinful. Yet you would want this African woman that you're not protecting or providing for or assisting to be submissive to you. You should be burned alive. You should be burned alive. If you are not in your primary role and function as provider and protector, shut your fucking mouth.
Talk about it.
And if they show mercy on you, you should be in a cage. You should be in a cage. And they should take you out with a leash around your neck and walk you and let you sit in the streets. Because the only thing that's allowed to eat, sleep, and shit in somebody's house and don't have to pay anything is a pet. It's a pet. You're an animal. You should be in the doghouse and they bring you your food and your water out there and they take your ragged ass for a walk. Children are gifts. So if you don't want to be a part of the responsibility of the sanctity of the African family, then you should be excommunicated, destroyed, or a pet thing. You should be the one submitting. You should be the one sitting under the feet. You should be the one playing fetch because you are a thing of amusement. You are a thing of amusement. Even the dog has a responsibility to the home as a guard dog. You won't even be a fucking guard dog. But you want to eat. But you want to drink. But you want to sleep. And if you have a dog in your house that does not become a part of the protection from the house, they should be neutered. They should be spayed. They should not be allowed to reproduce because a coward will only give birth to another coward. So for these fools out here that are running around disrespecting African women with no regard for African children, you do not deserve a life. And you definitely don't deserve the ability to reproduce. So that's about as nice as I could be, Queen Mother. That's that's about my best behavior in regards to some of these maladies and atrocities that I see that befall us with these eunuchs running around, masquerading as African men. So you have the
floor. I want to start with what you said about correction. It's not something that's easy. Of course, it's difficult and quite uncomfortable. When your mama, or in some cases your daddy, whooped your ass because you did something you knew you wasn't supposed to be doing, or even if you didn't know that you were not supposed to do it, but it was detrimental to your life, or something extremely serious, you're going to get your ass whooped for it. So you will know not to do it again. So correction is not easy, and it's going to come across uncomfortable and even forceful at times. When we look at the different metaphysical meanings, those of us on this side of knowing, certain biblical principles and stuff when the Christians talk about the rapture. The Bible doesn't use the word rapture. The Greek word that it comes from is harpazo, and that word means to be caught up by force. So there again, the rapture being caught up, we know that that's talking about being caught up to a higher state of mind, to higher standards, to holding yourself to higher principles. So to be caught up by force is, we can say, in a sense, being made to come to correction, and talk about as nice as you can put it. At this point, it really shouldn't even be about nice and, all that politically, correct stuff on this side of knowing. True freedom knows no oppression. And when I say no oppression, that means no oppression of mind, no oppression of action, no oppression of delivery of divine justice and righteousness, if that's what you're supposed to do at that time. You talk about homeostasis. The only way homeostasis is bringing about balance in the body. When we're talking about the macrocosm and the microcosm, we know as above, so below, as within, so without. We have to balance the masculine and the feminine, and like you said, anyone who is not truly on that wavelength, but you over here playing, in this awakening game, you need to be removed. You need to sit your ass down somewhere, because you out here capping, purpose, and it's detrimental. Our people are steadily dying because we got fools running around here that can't listen to correction. Where did you seem to think that your mama didn't have any power over you? At what age do we stop respecting mama? Tell me what school, tell me when is that okay? And we got these brothers running around here with all this dominant and disrespecting the black female. Since when did that become okay? And you wonder why you running around here being hunted down like dogs, and they're getting away with it by these police officers, because you are out of divine order. Because your true protection, you said fuck her. You said she ain't shit. You chose not to raise her, but you call yourself a leader. Well, lead her out of her bullshit, black man. It disgusts me when I see, I'm talking about, it makes my butt itch, literally, when I see brothers on that. And then when you so stiff-necked and stiff-headed to where you will see and hear divine wisdom and correction coming at you, but you're going to find some kind of way to, excuse it or dismiss it, as if you're hurting the deliverer of that message. In the macrocosm, you are, but you're hurting yourself way more. You wonder why things don't quite work out, or even all the little things that you're going through that you won't dare tell nobody. All of that stuff comes from you disrespecting the divine African principle. She is healing. She is the Ashe. She is the mental balance that you need. She is your relief. We got to allow someone else's actions to dictate what you choose to do is really some weak-minded shit, basically. And it says that you have a imbalance. You are not balanced in the mind. You don't even understand why you must, in order to elevate, respect, the divine feminine. You're not going to go nowhere. You're going to be out here perping. They talked about them being eunuchs. That's exactly what they are. You know, on a deeper note, we talk about the emasculation of the black man. Y'all look at things all physical. You don't even understand spiritually. You emasculated yourselves a long time ago when you chose to stop being supporters, when you chose to stop being providers, when you chose to stop giving a damn who and what and how your seed came up on this planet, when you chose to not care about being there for them. You emasculated yourselves. You stripped yourself of your masculinity. You know, Mama Zogby talked about it in her book, you know, and I talked about it in the show that inspired this one. You know, we see people going around here talking about this blame game thing, you know, oh, it was this one's fault and that one's fault. Now, that's counterproductive, but if we operate with truth, you know, she tells you in her book that it was the patriarchy that turned against the matriarchy. So at the root, way back, all these brothers is talking about, y'all want to be talking about these times and when the government made you put them out your section. Man, are you serious? Are you that small-minded? This shit been going on a long time ago. And the leader that you said you was failed. Chose to side with the enemy. But nevertheless, we're here right now. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? We look at so many, we call yourselves spiritual, but you only look at the physical. You know, you're spiritually transgendered. And I say spiritually because you're trying to take on the divine, the cosmic role of the divine feminine when that's not your role. You spiritually transgender. You don't even see you don't even have the mental capacity because you refuse to honor the divine feminine principle within you. You don't even have the mental capacity to be able to deduce it in any other dimension of thought other than this third dimension physical. You know, and if that's the case, you know, if you care about yourself, if you can't care about nobody else, if you care about yourself, I'd advise you brothers to stop doing what you're doing and sit down, because there is coming a time to where if we think shit is already bad for us, you know, we don't fall in line. All this shit is going on because we won't fall in line. Because there is a division, because we talking about unity. The unity begins in the mind. We need to build this pyramid from the top down. And if you guys are serious about this, and if you care anything about your blood, your children being able to be born in the world, you would get in fucking line and stop playing with this shit, because it's no joke. You cannot lie to the spirit realm. I don't care how many people we got hollering black power. I don't care how many marches. Clearly, we ain't did what we were supposed to do, because we still in this bullshit. We still ain't got back to being at the apex of all things. We still haven't got back to being architects that create things that it takes eons to even be able to recreate, and still haven't been done. You know, we're not going to get back there if we don't bring about homeostasis in the macrocosm and in the microcosm that is the nation that is we. You know, if you're not advocating for the black woman and you're a black man, there's indeed something wrong with your internal wiring, like literally and physically and spiritually. You've been mind fucked into attacking yourself. Think about that. Say it again. You've been mind fucked into attacking yourself. In your mind, spiritually, you are homosexual. You got masculine and masculine on both sides. Just fuck her all the way from the top down. See how stupid that sounds? But y'all know so much. But y'all master teachers, but you can't even deduce it on that level. And then you have the nerve to tell a sister like me who hasn't went out and got this for herself. Ain't no man gave it to me. I went and got it for myself because it's mine as the black woman. I dare chose to not submit to the bullshit. And that's where it got me. You know, we need to stop playing. We need to stop playing. How you going to want to be the teacher, but you don't want to go to school first to get the knowledge? It's no excuse. You know, there's no excuse
for you to turn against yourself. And this is coming from a woman who I grew up without a father. My kid's father wasn't there. I saw family members whose fathers wasn't there. Friends and strangers, men wasn't there. But yet and still, I cannot ever say I'm done with the black man. I can't turn on myself. I won't do it. I can't do it. Because I get the science of it. I get that it's bigger than how the fuck I feel about how old girl or old boy or old whoever did you. You want to throw it all away. How small-minded is that? Y'all really need to think about what y'all say y'all beliefs are and the ignorance that you let roll off your tongue. And I say ignorance because the root of that is ignore, because you ignore all the science within you, without you, in nature and everything else. There is no new life. There is no new nothing without the masculine and the feminine. Two feminine principles together don't do it, and two masculine don't do it. So if you're serious about this nation building, all you talking about nation building, and for all you that didn't know, this is the science of it. You got to do it in mind, and you can't fake and you can't front it. You can't lie to the spirit realm. So if you ain't serious about it, then sit your ass down somewhere, roll the fuck over, do whatever the fuck, go hide under a mountain, whatever the fuck, but get out of our motherfucking way. Like, and at one point, I'm with you, brother. It's like it don't matter if you feel like it should happen or not. You will be eliminated. They are being eliminated every day. We see our brothers and even sisters who don't get it right being eliminated in some kind of way every day. Karma always finds her mark. And we are going through what we're going. We are allowed to be going, with us being the divine principles that we are, the standards and the birthers of all of creation. But yet we still can't summon enough power to fight this system because we are not in proper alignment. They took your knowledge, they took your culture. Okay, well, now we got some of it back, most of it back. We got key principles back that we can do some shit with, but you too stuck in your ego. You too worried about because, oh, girl, she cheated on you that time, or she didn't wait on you and all this other stupid-ass shit. So you want to say fuck the divine feminine principle and putting out this negative energy in the cosmos to where all of us is suffering for it for generations and generations and generations. Stop being so fucking small-minded. Stop looking at things just from your point of view. Stop looking at things just from these times that you see. This shit started long ago and it's been going on too fucking long. I yield the mic.
Let me let that air out for a second. Let now see, daddy come with your ass, You ain't supposed to be hollering and screaming and nothing like that. You supposed to take it. If mama got to come, it used to be, the opposite when you in the optimal state, Wait till I tell you daddy, and you were afraid for your life. Now, if mama got to come stop everything that she doing, because mama is doing everything, and you on the list, oh yeah, mama gonna whoop your ass. Like, it ain't never been whooped before. If y'all seen Harlem Nights and y'all saw Eddie Murphy's character, mama took his ass out back and said, I don't want no hard feelings now. I got to kick your ass. Mama took him outside and he thought he was going to do something. He got to laughing and dancing around and thought he was Ali until she put a hold to him and knocked him into them trash cans. He looked over at the men and the men like,
Right, come on.
So you see that there is a level of distinction in regards to what's going on and what's happening. So I want to take a moment and play two songs and come back in, and we can continue on with this correction. We done ripped off of, and cleaned all of the dirt from the wound. Now we got to dress the wound and put it back together for you. So we're gonna take a little moment, play these two songs, and we'll be back. So if you have any questions or comments while we have our great mother here, Queen Iya Afrika. Our phone number again 929-477-1755. Again 929-477-1755. Press 1 with your questions or your comments. We'll be right back.
Ain't nothing like a woman. One time for the ladies in the place. Ain't nothing like a woman. I just smile every time I see your face. Ain't nothing like a woman. One time for the queens, Mother Earth. Ain't nothing like a woman. Cause a real man puts women first. Ain't nothing like God of the planet, ruler, mother of the earth. Birth man from your womb, God bless you for the hurt. Beauty of the definition of it, our shit. My empress of the moon, crown glory, I sit. My night turn to day when you come around me. You hold a brother down and make me feel okay. You ain't got to be a supermodel, slim figure. I love you as you are, you can be a little bigger. I can see your light shining bright from within. I can see divinity, I see it in your grin. Ain't nothing like a woman dressed in pretty brown skin. Picture perfect, goddess to the world, use a 10. Heaven in your eyes, thick thighs, big hips. A heart full of gold, pretty feet, wide hips. I love the way you talk, hear the words of an angel. Keep your head high, never let the world change like a woman. One time for the ladies in the place. Ain't nothing like a woman. I just smile every time I see your face. Ain't nothing like a woman. One time for the queens, Mother Earth. Ain't nothing like a woman. Cause a real man puts women first. Ain't nothing like a head roller, finger snapping, love you attitude. Dedicated loving, I'm just showing gratitude. I love the way you walk, love your talk, love it all. I love your imperfections and all your little flaws. Your mispronounced words being heard so beautiful. I just wanna kiss you from your head to your cuticles. Take your heels off, let your back rest, girl. I can give a hell about your flat chest, girl. You ain't gotta be what others say that you ought to be. Every man was born from a woman, you a part of me. Hair did, nails did, love it when they ain't. Give me good love and make a brother just bang. You ain't got to wear weave, you can rock it natural. Take your perm out, still pretty, that's factual. Bad to the bone, got a throne for you to sit. You my number one song, go and gold. You ain't nothing like a woman. One time for the ladies in the place. Ain't nothing like a woman. I just smile every time I see your face. Ain't nothing like a woman. One time for the queens, Mother Earth. Ain't nothing like a woman. Cause a real man puts women first. Ain't nothing like a light-skinned woman. Ain't nothing like a brown-skinned woman. Ain't nothing like a dark-skinned woman. Ain't nothing like an overweight woman. Got something I can hold on to. I just wanna put a hold on you. Ain't nothing like a good-looking woman. Ain't nothing like a good-cooking woman. Ain't nothing like you. Revolutionary, red, black, green. Malcolm at an AK, Martin at a dream. Image of the gods, dark skin, thick lips, snappy hair, wide nose, thick as stare, clutch your fist. Revolutionary, red, black, green. Malcolm had an AK, Martin had a dream. Image of the gods, dark skin, thick lips, nappy hair, wide nose. Take a stand, clutch your fist. Food, clothing, shelter, justice, freedom, equality. No camaraderie for America's crooked policies. Satan's ideology, educational toxic. Venom with their tongue, what they speaking is catastrophic. Me, I honor the prophets. Biko, Torre, Lemumba, Barashango, Elijah, Selassie, Shaka, and Kuruma. We were here before Columbus brought the murderers. Yeah, you need to proofread it by Ivan Van Serta, my boy. I'm Stokely Carl, might go with a black rifle. I'm on the White House lawn as appears the disciple. Click, bang, that's for little Bobby Hutton. Click, bang, that's for those they kill for nothing. Like John Huggins, Mark Clark, Mr. Bunty Carter. I spit it for the lost political martyrs. For the slaves on a ship that jumped in the water. And for those being slaughtered trying to enter the border. Rappers got skull and bone in their vocal tone. You hearty hookers while I'm calling for Nina Simone. Mankind was really cloned off of Lucy's bones. Cited by Louis Leakey. From Lucy to the Geechee. Revolutionary, red, black, green. Malcolm had an AK, Martin had a dream. Image of the gods, dark skin, thick lips, nappy hair, wide nose. Take a stand, clutch your fist. Revolutionary, red, black, green. Malcolm had an AK, Martin had a dream. Image of the gods, dark skin, thick lips, nappy hair, wide nose. Take a stand, clutch your fist. We need a black star line for economic independence. We are the remnants of the pharaohs, commits descendants. One aim, one God, one destiny. Hucky mighty race, we've been slaves intellectually. They kill Pac for exposing the Illuminati. They ban books from the Bible like the Nagamati. They kill Left Eye and try to say that she was crazy. All because of the link she had with Dr. Sabi. I ain't trying to give a lecture, I'm just speaking to ya. I ain't trying to be deep, nor am I preaching to ya. Are you desensitized from hearing the truth, nigga? Hate self, so it's nothing to go and shoot niggas. They killed Michael Jackson to steal his catalog. Why the garb just feed a youngin' some Adderall? They wanna drug us up so we won't unify, but we should organize, and that's real talk. Revolutionary, red, black, green. Malcolm had an AK, Martin had a dream. Image of the gods, dark skin, thick lips, nappy hair, wide nose. Take a stand, clutch your fist. Revolutionary, red, black, green. Malcolm had an AK, Martin had a dream. Image of the gods, dark skin, thick lips, nappy hair, wide nose. Take a stand, clutch your fist.
A renegade in this game, revolutionary at heart, breaking mental chains, shackles, I'm knocking down every wall. Intimidation, miseducation, self-hatred, miscalculation, like loving an open enemy that wants me eradicated. Contrary to reason will remain the greatest. Ancient of times, despite the aggressive oppression, we made it, obliterating minds. White supremacy, watch it die. Red, black, and green, one on my back, birth of a new paradigm.
Revolutionary, red, black, green. Malcolm had an AK, Martin had a dream. Image of the gods, dark skin, thick lips, nappy hair, wide nose. Take a stand, clutch your fist. Revolutionary, red, black, green. Malcolm had an AK, Martin had a dream. Image of the gods, dark skin, thick lips, nappy hair, wide nose. Take a stand, clutch your fist.
All right, all right, all right. We are back. We are back. We are back. Thinking Out Loud Thursdays with the Cosmic Great Mother in our midst right here, manifested in physical form. Queen Mother Africa is in the building. Phone number to call in 929-477-1755. Again, 929-477-1755. Press 1 with your questions or your comments. Queen Mother, are you with us?
Ashe, indeed, I am.
I say. So before we get into the next portion, the build-up portion, I do recall this monumental experience that was taking place out there in the great country of Texas. You know, um, I do recall seeing this magnanimous performance. You know, for those who don't know, she is the definition of master poetess. The definition. You know, she used the word in definition. So I got a chance to see, you know, a little teensy weensy bit of this, performance, and had me on the high for a couple of days. So if you don't mind, could you tell us about that experience, and if you would be so inclined to give us, you know, that magnificent piece, uh, please and thank you, so that the family can get a dose.
Absolutely. That was a venue that I attended, an event rather that I attended. I was invited to by a local pastor um, of a church. Now, of course, I'm not, a member of any church organizations, but I got invited because I attended a funeral there. A very close loved one, had transitioned. So he asked, and I recited a poem for her obituary. That's another thing that I do as far as poetry, locally. I write obituary poems, personalized and customized obituary poems for those who I may have known who passed on. Uh, so I had did that, and I had recited it at the funeral, and they were moved by it, and he asked me to attend an event. So I I I mulled it over. I thought about it, because it was a musical, and I'm sitting up there thinking, oh man, I'm gonna have to sit through all of. I ain't did that, in that over 10 years, So it's been a while since I left, but nevertheless, I felt I saw the opportunity in it to be able to strategically teach and also while also using the knowledge and the metaphysical jewels that I unearthed while studying Christianity, to be able to use it as a teaching moment to elevate and to give clarity and understanding to them, because although they think we know they don't even understand right now. So um, that's how this piece came about. He wanted me to write a piece about racism, which shocked me. I thought I was worried about what he was going to ask me to write about and how I was going to still be able to stay true to myself. Yet, I don't want to go in there and just disrespecting, their place. I believe in respecting people's spiritual, where they're at. So when he said racism, I was like, okay, all right. Then I really felt like this is something that I was supposed to do. I'm like, I can work with that. I can work with that. So I found out later that this pastor and his wife were actually very instrumental in the movement in the 60s and 70s when our parents and grandparents were uniting and stuff and had things going on. They were actually very instrumental in this area, um, or in that area rather. So that's how it came about, and the title of the poem that I wrote is "Come Out of Her." In their Christian Bible in Revelation, there's a scripture that says, "Come out of her, my people." I have come to interpret that as that meaning to come out of these different spiritual religions, to come out of this false church that we have, and to begin to build the temples within. So that was the title of the poem.
Okay, so would you be so kind as to let us hear a little something, something, from the piece?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm one because my name is Africa. I've always studied our culture and things like that. So I've always been a spiritual individual as well. So this poem kind of encumbers both of those.
All
The title of it is "Come Out of Her." One by one, each precious fruit of my womb was picked from the limbs
of my family tree. My daughters and sons, so far removed that they do not now remember me. I was the mother who rocked you to sleep, tucked in your sheets, gave you my breast for you to latch on and eat, crowned by and from my womb with wisdom more valuable than jewels, and then they took you and sold you for dirt cheap. They removed you from your cradle. You became sheep grazing and made into lifeless zombies to be gunned down in their streets, systematically destroyed by the lack of knowledge that they employ against you. You do not speak the king's English, but from your mother you inherited spiritually sound right reasoning, which created a deepening of their hate for you. Because of your cosmic design, your righteous state of mind, the way your Christ-like melanin shines, it's convicting to them. They see your fiery red eyes, your wool-like hair whitened from becoming wise, deciphering the lies that tried to say you were 3/5 of a human being, when in fact, you put the hue in human being. You're like the ruined gumbo. Your presence thickened up things. Springing up in you is a well. With each season, new life it brings. And they kill you because of it. I know no evil greater than the hate they have for your skin. They made your birth as black people a sin. There is no oppression more heinous than the iniquity they shaped you in. Psalms 82:6 said ye were gods, but they brainwashed you into mere men. If we would have never lost our connection to Mama Africa, imagine what might have been. You are the people of Deuteronomy who built houses but did not dwell therein. You are the children of Israel led to freedom by Moses, who was learning all the ways of the Egyptians. Woe unto them that call good evil, that put darkness for light. Isaiah 5:20 prophesied of them. They took your African heritage, called it evil, and then the very thing they hate you for secretly, they covet within. Cut your roots and you forgot your first love was your mother, who was African. By now you should realize that a Deborah is in your presence. When Barak cried, how long? When Jabin's army did oppress them, he would not go fight unless Deborah was next to him. Black Israel won't win the fight till they complete Ezra's mission. Rebuild, purify, and fence in the temples within them. Elijah's fire falls when we drown altars with tears of repentance. We win this. Your value is more than VVS diamonds. You are the illuminating race. All of creation awaits for ye sons of God to take their place. And these races hate-filled enemies you shall see no more. When you return to your first love, the bosom of Mother Africa, from whom they took you and sold you for dirt cheap.
Are we supposed to snap, or are we supposed to clap, snap, clap, snap, crackle, and pop? Or what we supposed to do? We'll try to figure out if we. I don't know. Been some years since I've been in the poetry thing, and I don't know what they're doing now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they're waving their hands back and forth like they're giving applause to somebody who can't hear them. I don't know what they got going on. You know what I'm saying? I was gonna drop the bombs, but I ain't want to scare you. You know, it's been a while since you heard the bombs over here. I've been trying to keep it, you know what I'm saying. So, yeah, yes. I love that piece. So, what was the reception, for the folk in there? Like, you know what I'm saying? Can you kind of paint us a picture, after the fact, when, before you went up there versus after, you were done? Is there like some future invitations in the works, something like that? I know you had to rock the house. From the little bit that I saw, you had some stuff going on. So, can you paint us a picture?
Yeah, they were very receptive. There were a lot of oohs and ahs and and oh, like moments of where the dots connected. And I could tell there was a few conscious people in there, one or two, because of the things that they reacted, on in the video. You hear when I say Psalms 82:6 said ye were gods, but they brainwashed you until you hear one dude say, like, no, she didn't go there. And I'm like, wait a minute, okay, and I look over there because I wanted to see who that was. I was getting hyped, but I had to keep myself, because I was surprised that they were as receptive as they were. I had an experience of back before I was truly woke. I had left the church because I hadn't found African spirituality, and I had attended a poetry event, a poetry night at a church. When to make a long story short, the event was cut short because of the things that myself and the person who I went with, what our point was talking about. That was the beginning of my awakening. So I was talking about things of awakening that I quite at times fully understand. But so I was really sorry. And we had some technical difficulties and could not finish the show. So we are gonna not waste any time and pick up right where we left off last night. I have the honorable brother, Knowledge Born Allah, on the line. Good day, brother.
Alafia, Queen Mother, Alafia to your guests and those who will listen to these archives in the future. Honored to be here.
Ashe, indeed, indeed. It's always an honor to build with you, brother. Always. Yeah, unfortunate last night we weren't able to finish our discussion, but we know how these platforms go. We know how energy works. Before we got disconnected, I remember you were asking me how was I received when I did the poem at the location. And the part that I didn't get to say was, of course, I said they were very receptive, but they also ended up purchasing books afterwards. So it was really a door opening experience for me. It was groundbreaking to me. We see a lot of our people preaching to the choir, and it's good. People, we need to enlighten our so-called conscious brothers and sisters, but we also need to learn how to strategically deal with those who haven't even been born into the knowledge. So in regard,
Definitely, I agree.
Absolutely. In regards to last night's show, like I said, I don't want to waste too much time. We are limited on this platform, but we were talking about the Great Mother, and I was the one who had the floor last, the return of the Great Mother, and so I'm going to let you pick up and start the show out, since it was technically your turn to speak last night. So,
yeah, I believe we were moving into the realm of solutions. So I know we wanted to ensure that we left, our family with solutions in this world. Our way of building things back up. Building from the top down. We dealt with the correction. We dealt with the proper analysis of the situation, and now we wanted to go forward with the rebuilding up after we done cleaned all of the muck and the mire out of the way.
Indeed. We go ahead.
I wanted to read something from Message to the Warriors from Dr. Baba and Wale K. Romani Baruti. Occupant Institute and Occupant House, an African Center school dedicated to the re-Africanization of the minds of African children and ultimately their families, and then the larger portion of the community. This is available at www.occupanthouse.com, and it's on page 26, and it speaks about nationalism because we were going to the realm of nation building. So I wanted to read this very quickly, and then we could actually get into it. Nationalists, or rather, true African nationalists, have devoted their lives to the unconditional liberation, empowerment, and sovereignty of African people. So Baba gives us a distinguishing factor, a set of characteristics, traits, and behaviors that are easily identifiable when you're talking about those who say with their tongue and follow up with their bodily functions to be about the liberation and empowerment and sovereignty of African people. So I just wanted to lay that distinction in between. So as we, progress in the conversation, we could go into that. So I yield the floor back to you, Queen Mother, because I'm anxious to hear some of the things that were in your mind in regards to what you didn't get an opportunity to speak about on this side.
Absolutely. That's key. You talk about character traits. I was talking about last night nation building and building the pyramid and starting at the top down. So obviously when we're dealing with character traits, we're dealing with, yet again, the mind and thinking and unity in thought and having both your right brain and your left brain, your pineal and your pituitary gland online and functioning properly with one another. And what does that mean in the physical as we see out here? You talked about people having mental viruses, and that's a great way to put it. I see, on social platforms and stuff, when we're dealing with Ifa, all the girls want to be Oshun, and mostly all the guys want to be Ogun. You want to be the god of war. Well, when we're talking about warriors, what is a warrior? And when we're discussing the macrocosm and the microcosm, the warriors are the ones who protect the body. The warriors are the ones who go out and obviously, make sure that those things on the inside remain balanced and remain in homeostasis. When we look in the body, it's the immune system that is the warriors, or we can consider the quote-unquote Ogun in a sense. Well, what is an immunity? Immunity, when you look at that as a definition, is the ability of an organism to resist a particular infection or toxin by the action of specific antibodies or sensitized white blood cells. So in order for us to nation build, we know when you build something, somebody is always going to come take it. There's always something coming looking to tear it down. So you have to have your warriors. You have to have your immune system in place. And we can't discuss nation building without discussing the warriors and without discussing immunity. Being able to build toxins, being able to resist particular toxins, being able to resist different things that you see. How we were talking about last night, people decide, oh, I'm done with the black man, or I'm done with the black woman because of what one person did to them. If you are a warrior, then you have the ability to resist that particular infectious state of mind, or you should have the ability to resist those toxic behaviors and character traits. So we need to first build our immune system. We need to build our army. We need to get our warriors in place. And how do we do that? You know, it all starts with self-discipline. A warrior is a warrior because he has self-discipline, because he has self-control. And these are things that we are lacking, key things that we need, you know, in order to successfully complete the mission at hand. I yield to you.
Whew. Oh man, the root word of warrior is war.
Come on now.
It's war.
Indeed.
So if you are there and you acknowledge that you are a warrior, you know that thy life service is dedicated to vanquishing the enemies. Not all enemies are apparent, and not all enemies wear uniform. Enemies take on different forms at different periods at your life and your stages of development as a warrior. So the conquering or the set ability to take one from that dis-ease state that we were speaking on last night, Queen Mother, to go from dis-ease to ease, the warrior must identify first and be cognizant of the fact that they are at war. And with that renewed revelation, say, I have what it takes to win. I am prepared to do what it takes to win. I am preparing to win. We do not step on the battlefield without that understanding unless you are there with the opposition. So now let's look a little deeper into war. Who are you truly battling? And do you have what it takes to win? And also a deeper contemplation in war is, how did you get into war in the first place? If everything is guarded, insecure, internally, externally, the enemy can do no harm. However, if you left a gate unguarded, if you left something unchecked, if you left something open and susceptible, this is where an enemy attacks. The enemy does not come fully frontal. The enemy looks for an opportunity or an opening. So if you are attacked by an enemy, that means that the enemy spotted a chink in your armor. An enemy spotted a weakness. An enemy spotted a vice. And oftentimes, even further than that, Queen Mother, when we look at something that we perceive as an enemy, we could also look further in to see that this is something that we should welcome in on our ascension. You know, I was out in Texas and we were doing that 2-day lecture, and we were at the Doc Bookshop, and I was speaking about the farmer and the duty of the farmer, tilling the field, irrigating the field, and planting seeds. And before any of these seeds bear fruit topsoil, you see fully grown weeds. So now we have a perplexed farmer that is not conscious of the relationship between the seed that is planted and the weed that sprouts up full life. before any of the seeds break ground. Does that mean that the growth has not taken place? That the seed is not fully grown and developed in gestation in the womb of the ground? No. It's the opposite. It's right before these seeds break ground and you see evidence of it topsoil that the weed is there. And the weed is there not in opposition to the plant, but is necessary for you to see any crop that begins to bear fruit or that begins to break ground topsoil as evidence that this is the best crop. So if you're dismayed by seeing weeds, you are not prepared for battle. You understand that evidence of what is to come, the weeds are a part of the process. And if you continue to submit to the process, you will have a bountiful harvest. If you continue to submit to the process, you will have a bountiful harvest. And the weed is evidence of life, yet unseen. So when you were speaking about faith, and you gave the definition of faith, the evidence of things unseen, this is what we're dealing with. And the substance of things hoped for, this is what we're dealing with. And the evidence is not the crops first. The evidence of life is the weeds, because the weed would not be present if there was no life there. So when we start looking at battle and we start looking at turmoil, the evidence of life, the evidence of an ascension is the weed or the enemy or the opposition. Perceptually. But when we start dealing with that signs, when you were speaking about the signs of the Ori, it's all in your head. When we start looking at these universal principles, when we start to say that all is mental,
come on now,
you can put yourself in a position to look at that as an enemy when you're looking at an ally. Your ancestors could be trying to show you something. Say, hey, you open, you susceptible right here. You need to check that shit. But we be so caught up on the surface. We be so bogged down and preoccupied on the appearance that we misunderstand before we understand. Because understanding is to see things clearly for what they are and not for what they appear to be. So you can look at this opposition as a trial, or you can look at this opposition as a blessing. You could look at this situation of turmoil as something for degradation or preparation for ascension. We were talking about that healing process, and when you get a scar or a bruise and it's scabbing over, it hurts like hell. This is the process of healing. So that journey back through this healing process, it's a fight. It's a fight to remain consistent. It's a fight to remain disciplined. You can be savage. It's easy to do. It don't take no discipline at all. It takes all of the discipline in the world to go through a process of refinement, to go from savage to civilized. And you remember every bruise, every scar crawling through that muck and that mire and that hell, just as the farmer who has to have the vision of the bountiful harvest and work backwards. With the painstaking labor, the pure pain and bloodshed, the sacrifice, the communion out there with the soil. That renewed understanding of the earth and relationship to the earth and the nature before any of the process can begin. to walk the fields, to ask permission for the earth to plant seeds in it, to ask for the cooperation of this earth that looks destroyed and jagged, disturbed earth on the surface. Right underneath that topsoil is the most fertile soil on the planet. So then we have to look at each other and say, beneath the scars, the bruises, and beneath the level of trauma, underneath that, in essence, we see that rich African soil that had been properly cultivated and there available, given to us by Great Mother Earth. And that we have a duty and responsibility to ensure that that fertile soil is protected and not desecrated or disrespected. I yield, Queen Mother.
Absolutely. You said some key things. We got about 10 minutes left. I want to go back to, talking about warriors and war. And I was speaking of immunity and what that consists of. We hear a lot of people saying that AIDS is fake and all of that. Well, okay, well then let's ask ourselves, does it mean something spiritual? Same thing we were saying last night. You're looking at it with the physical. Well, what is AIDS? Acquired immune deficiency syndrome. Acquired, meaning developed. Immune deficiency, an inability to defend yourself. So, and then they say that black people are more susceptible to AIDS, or that it was engineered for the black man. Well, when you look at it from a spiritual aspect, don't you see what it is? Even when you're talking about the weeds coming up with the crop, the crops, the harvest of the parable of the harvest, the story of the wheat and the tares. They had to come up together. The good and the bad had to come up together. They're both growing. The fact that they both are coming up together is a sign that growth is occurring. And it's something that must take place. You can't have the good without the bad. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. For if you got good fruit, you got bad fruit. So where does that lead us as a people? Where does that where does that put us? Where does that show us where we are? If in a sense, as a nation, we have AIDS. We don't even know who our enemy is. And we're fighting ourselves, acquired immune deficiency. We've been given this mindset. There's a song, I don't even know who it is, but the Cranberries. And it's like a rock song, but it's called Zombie. But the hook goes, in your head, zombie, zombie. But the song is telling you, what, same thing that we're talking about now, same thing that everything, if you truly have ears to hear and a keen spiritual eye, you will see it. It's all about your mind. The battle is for your mind. That's why, so much goes into distractions to get your attention, to get you to pay attention somewhere else, to get you to pay your attention to something that does not benefit you or your kind. So knowing who our enemy is and knowing, black man, that it is not the black woman, and black woman, that it is not the black man. True enough, all of us aren't where we're supposed to be. But we need those of us who are warriors, those of us who claim to be the first line of defense, we need to be immune to that. We need to develop an immunity to our own, so that we are not developing autoimmune disease, attacking ourselves. We have to come out of, ego. We talk about correction, and receiving proper instruction. Anything outside of that is just us wasting our time. You know, it's not going to happen. This is the time of harvest, you know, and the separation is beginning, and that is being done from the top down and from the bottom up. You know, and as I was saying last night, you know, you basically fall in line or you're going to be eliminated. You know, as the brother said, you know, you don't even really deserve to live if you choose to be so selfish to where you can't put aside one little personal incident and see the bigger picture. Then you probably don't need to be a part of the bigger picture. You know, it's a psychological war, and to know thyself is to know thyself inside and out. It's not just knowing you individually. It's knowing you throughout time. It's knowing you as the black woman, even though you're a black man, and it's also you knowing you as the black man, and vice versa, likewise for the woman, because I am the black man and the black woman. And brother, you are, you know, the black woman and the black man. So we need to gain a higher perspective and begin to change our perspectives and look deeper and stop being so superficial or judging spiritual things only by physical manifestations. We got about 4 minutes left, brother. I'm going to let you give your closing remarks.
Well, I'm definitely honored to have an opportunity to dialogue again with you on this program, and we were supremely honored and edified. I got nothing but great remarks, despite the challenge that was associated with our communication towards the end of the program. So I definitely want to thank you again for taking time out of your schedule to edify us and to correct us and, you know, to whip our behinds into shape.
No doubt, brother. It's always an honor and a privilege. You know, this is what I do. I live, sleep, eat, and breathe this path. So I'm always honored to be invited somewhere to be able to share myself spiritually and intellectually with my people. You know, it was hard, but I've developed my immune system for the most part, you know, to our people's bullshit. And I'm always honored to meet and be amongst like-minded individuals so that we can come together and move on one accord and do this work. So I thank you for extending the topic about the black matriarchy, and I'm glad that it led to this discussion to edify our people together as you being the personification of the divine African masculine and me, the divine African feminine. So I really believe that, you know, this study that we did, it was very much needed. And I think that it will do what it's supposed to do because it's balanced and it's not just one opinion. It's not just one side of the spectrum. You know, we have male and we have female. And that's where the unity begins. So I appreciate you getting up this morning and continuing the show as well. And again, thank you for having me on your show.
Always welcome, Queen Mother. Always welcome. And if y'all got a problem with Queen Mother, y'all got 10,000 problems with me. I'm going to say that for the record. I don't want to leave that off the table. So any of you units or you degenerates out there or fools, y'all got a problem with Queen Mother Afrika, y'all got a problem with knowledge born to the 10,000th degree.
Thank you, brother. Much love to you. Much love. I appreciate the support. We need more like you. We need more like you. Okay, we're down to our last 90 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and play out our theme song. Make sure you listen in tomorrow. We got a study. We have a study on the confusion of the languages. It'll probably be a 2 or 3 part series. So make sure you tune in. And until then, I'm going to say, au double.
Yeah, 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 oh, I do. Yeah, 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 oh, I do. Adinyale kowo si yeah, yeah, oh, toro efa. Ariwo yo, I do. Adinyale kowo si. Yeah, 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 oh,